Stock market, 401ks, IRAs, oh my, on today's episode.
You are listening to the Champion Hustle podcast. Play to succeed in business and in life. Featuring Levi Hunsaker and Ryan Black.
Hello and welcome to the Champion Hustle podcast. This is episode number 37. My name is Ryan Black.
And my name is Levi Hunsaker. How you doing today, Ryan?
Doing amazing. Good morning, Levi. Good to be back with you.
Yeah, we're just still bringing value to you guys every single week. And before we get going, we got to remember, very important announcement. What is it?
We got our 7-day Quick Start Bootcamp. championhustle.com, 7 days of awesome training, absolutely free. Our gift to you. Just go there, throw in your name, your email, and we'll get that sent out to you. It's got some interactive exercises that you can do to, just kind of do an assessment on your business, see where you're at so that you can take some great takeaways and tips to be able to grow that. And if you're maybe just thinking about getting started with a new business, well, it's a great place to start, to go and get some great ideas, questions you should be asking yourself so that you can be better prepared as you are starting up with that new business. So championhustle.com is the place to go for our 7-day Quick Start Bootcamp. Our gift to you, absolutely free.
Yeah, so really quick on that, we've had a question, is this only for getting started? Well, what are you getting started with? Are you getting started on the next level of your business? Are you getting started on the ground floor? Are you getting started with a new product? That's good for any of these situations. So if you're already in business, go check it out and see how that can help you get laser focused on creating an awesome product for your customer and delivering on that awesome product.
Yeah, I love that. And even Levi, even if they're not in the point of where they're launching a new product or something, doing a SWOT analysis. I know we talked about SWOT analysis
that's true. Many
times in the past. We have actually a whole episode dedicated to SWOT analysis. Very valuable tool. I mean, I've been in the current business that we're running. We've been doing it for 5 years, and I still, as of this year, I feel like I've in certain areas have started from square one again, just because we're revisiting things and saying, how can we improve? How can we enhance? How can we scale and optimize? So you're always constantly in that mode, or should be, right? In that mode of seeing what you can do to streamline processes and improve and cut costs and all that stuff. So
yep,
awesome.
I love it.
Our topic today is an interesting one because we do talk about the different things. We talk about business and mindset and real estate. Today's topic is something that, I would arguably say everybody needs to understand because, unless you want to be working until you die, working yourself to death.
Or you plan on relying on somebody else to take care of you for the rest of your life.
True. And I would say probably a lot of people, unfortunately, are planning on the government taking care of them through Social Security and programs like that. Might want to rethink your plan if that's your plan.
Yeah, me personally, anything that comes out of that is going to be a bonus because I'm not going to rely on anybody else to provide anything for me when I can go out and create it myself.
Yeah, self-sufficiency is so important, and it truly gives you freedom, right? And so I really wish that when we were in high school, we'd been taught this type of stuff, because if we would have learned this stuff in school, these are really the life skills that you truly need to be able to be successful, like retirement planning. Granted, most kids that are 18 years old, they see, people that are retirement age and they're like, oh, they're so old. I'm never going to be that old. Well, actually you are. You are, and you should be planning for it. And unfortunately, most people in the United States, they really fail to do adequate retirement planning, and they get to that point where they would like to retire and they simply can't because they don't have enough money, right? And
that's a tough spot to be in, to want something and not be able to do it because you feel like your options are limited. So what we're going to talk about today is how to give yourself some options now for the future.
Yeah, and this equally applies whether you've got a day job, or you've got a small business. If you're a solopreneur, if you're just getting started, whatever. It doesn't. That's why it equally applies to everybody. It doesn't matter how you make your money. These principles are so important, because if we break down the numbers, like, okay, what would the average age most people like to retire by, we'd say what, maybe mid-60s is what I would say?
65 or so. That seems to be a pretty common age. I think a lot of people would like to retire before that.
True.
But I think that's a pretty common age when people are retiring. That actually seems to be increasing more and more.
Yeah.
As time goes on. So
it does. So and I would agree. Most people would probably say, "Hey, I would love to be retired by 50 or whatever." But yeah, so let's assume, for numbers purposes, let's say 65 years old. So if you're going to retire, most people retire at 65. How many years? I know this is morbid, but how many years of life left would you say on average people would have?
I think average life expectancy in the U.S. I didn't look up the stats, so I'm going to guess around 85. Okay. So maybe 20 years after that.
That's kind of what I was guessing. Yeah. So we figure retire at 65, you're dead by 85, right? And so you've got 20 years to live off.
Dark really fast.
You're welcome. You're going to be dead. So we got 20 years of basically retirement. So average income in the United States is around $40,000 a year. And so if, doing some quick math, pull out my calculator. So let's assume just that same cost of living. 40,000 times 20 years would be $800,000. So one thing that I think is interesting, a little bit of a tangent here, is, folks talk about, well, once I'm retired, it's okay if my income goes down because this reason or whatever. I don't know. They come up with different excuses. And my response to those people is, well, if what you're currently making, with your business or your job is not enough to make ends meet, and you're stressed and you're limited in what you can do, why do you think that having that same amount 20 or 30 or 40 years from now, or 10 years from now, when you have to factor in inflation, is going to meet your needs?
It's the big I word, right? Inflation. Because in 20 years, what's the inflation going to look like? Again, yeah. I didn't run the math, but it's not going to be pretty. Go ahead and look at what the dollar was worth in terms of value 20 years ago from today, back in 2001 versus 2021. And you're going to see a drastic difference in buying power.
Oh, yeah.
If I had to take a guess, I bet it's the inflation is probably somewhere close to around 50%. So basically, I can't math good in my head right now. I'm not even going to try. So
it's a big difference.
Figure that out.
Yeah. So, but we for the purpose of our discussion today, we'll kind of pretend like that's not going to happen. But that just exasperates the issue. So even without any inflation, which we know that's not going to happen, but let's assume zero inflation. If you're $40,000 a year for 20 years, that's $800,000 to be able to continue to support your basically living. Now, granted, at the older ages, you're going to have more medical costs and things like that. So, but we'll just keep it very conservative. $800,000. Now, what would you guess, Levi, is the average amount of money that people have in their 401k or their retirement plan at the age of retirement in the U.S.?
I don't know, like 75,000.
Okay. So the average, so we got two figures here. We got the average and the median. The average is about $192,000.
Okay.
So, but the median,
I was thinking more about the median.
Yeah. The median is meaning if the median is half of the people have more money and half of the people have less money. So you're right in the middle. $58,000. $58,000 at age 65 is the median, but even the average, 192, you're not going to last 20 years.
Even the average is like 5 years, less than 5 years.
Yeah. And then, that's when you see, folks that really should be, relaxing on the front porch, yelling at kids to get off their lawn, and they're still working. And it's really sad. Like, it really is.
I can see you doing that.
Oh yeah. I can see myself doing that now. I don't need to wait. I don't need to wait another 20 years. I can do that now.
Grumpy old men.
Yes. We're grumpy young ones. So the bottom line is what we're trying to communicate here is, guys, the plan that most people are following with their 401ks, with saving and investing in the traditional vehicles, it simply doesn't work. It doesn't work. What would, Levi, most people, they got their 401ks, it's managed by their employer. What would you say most people are invested in when they're using those type of options for their retirement planning?
Most likely in something like mutual funds, or maybe even indexed funds if you have what I would call a quote unquote better retirement plan through a work 401k.
Okay. And stocks, bonds.
Yep.
Maybe some commodities, but I mean, it's they give you like three options, right?
It really depends.
It's like the conservative option, right? Usually, like if it's employer sponsored, they'll say, okay, you can do the aggressive plan, the aggressive option, like the normal option, or the super conservative option, and it's all managed by a third party company. There's lots of them out there, Merrill Lynch and Vanguard, Berthel Fisher. I don't know. There's lots of them, but they manage everything for you, and then they say, "Oh, don't look." And this is the greatest thing. When I first had a 401k set up years ago at a job I had, they told me this. They're like, "Don't look at it. Don't look at your account. Don't look at how much money you have. It's going to go down. Just don't worry about it, because you're not going to need to touch that money for another 40 years." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Don't look at it? I don't care if I'm losing money. I do care if I'm losing money." So it's just the mindset is very, very different. And so with those plans, let's say you got an employer-sponsored plan, and you say, "I would like to invest in something a little less volatile than the stock market." Maybe some real estate. If you're to call up, Merrill Lynch and say, "Hey, I'd like to use my funds here to invest in real estate," what are they going to tell you?
I think you might get laughed at.
Yeah.
Just a guess. Maybe they'll be a little more professional than that, but under their breath, they're really thinking, who does this guy think he is? Who does this lady think she is? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, there may be, now some of the companies may have alternatives where they'll offer you access to a REIT, right? A real estate investment trust, which that's a topic for another day. That's really not, you're really not investing in real estate. I mean, it's basically like buying stock in a building. I mean, real estate REITs are not very lucrative. They're for people who want to say, "I'm investing in real estate," but have no idea how to invest in real estate. So the returns on those they're not very good at all. But besides REITs,
so we've got to kind of temper that statement a little bit, with the understanding that when we invest in real estate, we're talking about multiple double-digit returns.
Yes.
Consistently. Like, we're not inflating these numbers. When we say even 5, 6, 7, 8% is not a great return for investing in real estate, that's what we're talking about in REITs. And some people might look at that and say, "Hey, that's a fantastic return," where they might be only getting 3 or 4% somewhere else. But when we're talking about 20, 30 or more percent return, 8% is just not very sexy.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that, Levi. Sometimes we get in our own bubble and we forget. Yeah. It's all relative, right? It's all relative. And so, yeah, we have a different definition of lucrative returns when it comes to real estate.
Very true. So we just wanted to make sure that was very clear, that we have a different expectation of what investing in real estate really looks like in terms of a return.
Right. And so if we were to ask, them, hey, I saw this great little, this little duplex that's, across town from where I live. I would love to pick that up with my retirement plan, because I've got, enough funds in there to be able to do that, so that I can continue to, get all the benefits, the appreciation and the cash flow and everything from that asset. They are going to tell you no. They're going to say, oh, you can't do that. Is that true?
No, it's actually not true. What they're actually telling you when they say you can't do that, they're saying, oh, we can't do that. They are not able to do it because, let's face it, they make their money on stock market transactions. If they actually wanted to build themselves a model to make money off of real estate transactions, they could do that too and do just fine at it. They just don't.
Yeah. That's an important distinction. It's not that you can't, it's they can't, because they don't offer that service. So you in a retirement account, if you haven't heard this before, make sure you're sitting down and paying very close attention, because you can invest in any legal investment. Now we're talking about inside the laws inside the United States. Any legal investment can be invested in a retirement account. So what would be some illegal investments?
Ooh, illegal investments. Are you talking about like drug trafficking or
Levi, we're recording the podcast right now.
No. We're not talking about that kind of illegal. We're just talking about things that there are specific rules set up around what can be invested in a retirement account. So one of the big no-nos in a retirement account is you can't invest in life insurance policies in your retirement account.
Yeah, I know, like consumables, things that, food or beverages that you could then consume.
Adult beverages.
Yeah, you cannot purchase that. There's certain types of derivative trading that is prohibited.
What does that mean? Derivative trading?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, so for those of you that aren't familiar with that term, basically what they're saying is you can't trade on margin, meaning that you can't trade on borrowed funds, basically. So when you're trading on margin in the stock market, they're basically saying we'll allow you to, have some borrowed funds, these virtual funds, to go ahead and start trading. And basically it's saying your retirement account has to actually own the stock. They can't own, you can own options for stock as well, but you can't just trade on margin in your retirement account.
Okay. You can purchase real estate, obviously, with your retirement account. It just can't be for personal use. So you can say,
so you're not going to go buy your lake house and go stay at it every summer in your retirement account?
Nope, that's not going to happen. Nor your primary residence, right? You could not do that. That wouldn't work.
Yeah. So no real estate for personal use. So basically, it's off limits. I actually know a guy that he bought a property. He bought it in his retirement account, but he is waiting until he's after age 65 so he can take it as a distribution to be their personal residence for their final home, their retirement home. And so he's basically renting it out in his retirement account, and then they're just going to basically, when they get ready to retire and they're past that age where they can start taking distributions from their retirement account, then they're going to take the house back out and then they can use it for personal use.
No, that's cool. That's a good idea.
It's a fun strategy.
Yeah.
Buy what you want, get somebody else to pay for it, and then go live in it when you retire.
Yeah. Right on,
Boom.
man.
Strategy.
Hashtag strategy. So with these types of transactions, obviously, if your funds are at one of the big fund with one of the big managers, they can't do that. that has to be, converted and transferred into an environment where this is possible, right? And those are SDRPs. SDRPs. So SDRP.
Nobody actually says that, by the way. So
no, we're
don't
just joking.
Say that to anyone, or they'll just think, "Oh man, look at this noob. They don't know what they're talking about." What's a SDRP?
Yeah, it's SDRP. That's just the abbreviation. But yeah, no one ever says that except us because we're special.
SDRP.
Self-directed retirement plan, and you can
What does that even mean? Self-directed.
Well, self-directed, rather than having a manager, somebody else who is directing where the funds are being invested, right? It is directed by yourself, self-directed retirement plan. Now, self-directed IRAs or 401ks, they can be both, either or, right? You can have self-directed traditional IRA, Roth IRA, traditional 401k, Roth 401k. You can self-direct health savings accounts. Like, there's a lot of really cool things that you can do. But for our discussion today, we're focused on 401ks, and what you have to do is there are companies that are custodians. They're called. They're third-party custodians, and so you roll over your funds into one of them, and then they hold on to your money, and you simply direct them what to do with the funds. They will do exactly what you tell them to do. You just can't touch the funds directly. And so, for example, if there's an opportunity that arises and you say, "Oh, I'd like to invest in this," and even maybe you have tickets, you're able to get super cheap, front row tickets to a sporting event, like the Super Bowl or something. And you're like, I'm going to scalp these tickets and sell them and make...
I don't know if there's any such thing as a super cheap front row ticket to the Super Bowl. Like,
this is hypothetical.
Sidelines, 50-yard line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be some serious cheddar.
Well, let's just for hypothetical purposes, we'll imagine that you got that, or it's a real a real estate opportunity or something that you say, "Ooh, this is what I'm going to invest in." You would then direct the custodian, say, "Okay, this is what I want you to do." They will set everything up, and then you sign it and authorize it. But you're not the one directly touching your funds. They are the ones who touch them, and then you direct where they go. And this is a totally just extremely powerful strategy, because then you regain control of your investing, of what you're doing with your funds.
So why does it matter, right?
Well, do you want to have $58,000 in your retirement plan when you're 65?
No,
or
I would like to have a lot more than that, because I have ambitions to travel and, go explore the country and the world, because we love to travel. And we don't just love to travel, we love to actually experience the travel with nice accommodations, nice travel, nice everything. So that's how we roll. Other people will do differently, but if you can think it and create it in your mind first, you can create it in reality. But you got to go do the work.
Yeah. So then, and this, this topic really has a lot of, we could go a lot of different directions with it. More of what we wanted to do with you guys today is just expose you to the possibility of that these options are out there, because obviously we use, our retirement plans to invest in real estate. That's our thing. But there, you can invest in so many different things once you kind of unplug yourself from the traditional way of retirement planning. It just makes sense.
Well, and the biggest thing is, nobody's going to care about your money more than you do.
Yeah. So
why are we taught to turn it over to somebody else to manage it? Because
and then don't look at it.
Well, and honestly, I feel like they're treating us like we're stupid. We're not. We actually have the capability to learn and understand what we're doing. Yeah. But there are people who just don't want to, and that's okay. That's where that service becomes useful. Mm-hmm. But if you want to actually control what's going on and have a say in what's happening in your retirement account, and actually go out and find some of these, what we call greater returns in the real estate market, then that's where the real power of self-directed retirement plans come in.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing we should mention because it's really important, and that is about prohibited transactions.
Oh, yes.
Because
can't forget that one.
You can get yourself in some hot water. So what do we mean by that?
Tax bills is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to talk about prohibited transactions, but the penalty of a prohibited transaction is you could entirely void the entire tax savings of a retirement account. They could basically say, nope, you didn't do something correctly, and you got to cash it out. And they'll basically tax the whole thing. Just
distribute the whole account.
Yeah,
taxes,
distribute,
penalties.
and that means that's true. You get taxed. There's, I can't remember. I think it's like a 10% penalty. Don't quote me on that. But I mean, it's a pretty steep penalty for a prohibited transaction. So on top of, let's say it's 10%, plus you're gonna get like, what's the highest tax rate, depending on your state too.
Right.
Like New York and California are above 50% in total taxes in the highest tax bracket, federal and state. Yeah. So you might be paying 60 to 65% of your retirement account in taxes if you do one of these prohibited transactions. So it's really important to know about, and I think maybe it would be a good idea to reach out to one of our attorney friends that specialize in self-directed retirement accounts and really prohibited transactions, and make sure that maybe it's a future episode, but let's talk about what some of them are today.
Okay. Yeah, and it really is important because one little mistake in doing this, you can't just be like blindly be like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. You need to make sure you understand the regulations and the laws. Otherwise, like Levi said,
this is not one of those cases.
60% cut in your retirement plan to the government.
This isn't one of those cases where you want to ask forgiveness rather than permission.
That's not going to work on this one.
It doesn't work.
So prohibited transactions. So for example, let's use real estate as an example. If I had, there's certain people with whom I cannot transact because there's like a conflict of interest, right? Or I can't transact with their retirement plans.
So could your retirement account buy one of your rental properties?
Could my buy a rental property for me?
No, could your retirement account buy off of you one of the rental properties that you already own?
No, I don't think so.
No, so you cannot do a transaction with yourself.
Nope.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't directly benefit from the retirement funds now, is really what it comes down to. That doesn't mean that if you properly structure it, you can't partner yourself with your retirement account and buy a rental property. But you can't take something that you already own and then transfer it into your retirement account. That would be a no-no.
Who are other people?
Spouse. Can you transact with your spouse?
No.
Like your retirement account and something your spouse owns?
No, I don't think so.
Nope. What about your kids?
Nope.
Big fat no. What about your parents?
Nope.
What about... I'm trying to remember all of these things. I think there's more. But can you do a transaction with your cousin?
I think so, yeah.
I think so too. So they require some degree of separation. This is where it would be good to bring our attorney friend in, because he'd be able to give all of the specific details. But just know, as you're going into this, and if you're looking at doing something like this, just remember, I've got to learn about prohibited transactions, because it's worth 60+% of your retirement account potentially.
Right, and that's
a deep cut.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we've known about this for a long time, and we've used a lot of retirement plan funds and different deals. But as you may be able to tell by a little bit of our uncertainty of trying to remember, okay, what is the regulation here and there? We're not attorneys, and we don't want to be. No offense if you're an attorney. That's why we have attorney friends, so that we can pay them a few bucks and say, hey, currently as it stands today, what does the law say? What is this a prohibited transaction? They can vet it, clear it for us, and we're good to go. So you understand the basic principles, but before actually executing something like this, you want to make sure that you've got that person who is up to date on all the latest, because the laws change, up to date on all the latest regulations, to where they can say with a certainty, this is fine, or no, we need to restructure this.
So the way I like to think about it is, do you still have an employee mindset, or do you have a CEO mindset? The employee says, I have the ability to go figure this out. I'm going to go do it. And so they do. Now the CEO mindset says, well, I don't want to spend the time to figure this out. So I'm going to go find the best person that I can that already knows how to do it and leverage.
Yep.
It's a big difference. Use leverage professionals. And before I ever hired an attorney to set up an entity or anything for me, I was the do-it-yourselfer. And I realized a lot of places that I screwed up, but they were able to come in and fix things for me. And, this is a lesson that maybe I'm a little bit hard-headed and I have to learn repeatedly. But leverage your professionals, because that's how you create more time for yourself. You get the same 24 hours in a day, but when you use leverage and borrow other people's time, or I guess not borrow, but pay for other people's time, you now just increased what you can get accomplished.
Yeah. Work smart, not hard. Well, work hard and smart, and then enjoy the fruits of your labors.
Exactly.
Well, that's it. That's all we got for you guys today. Hopefully this has been mind expanding. Hopefully it's been, because so many people just have no idea about this, that you can even self-direct your retirement plan. We've got our friend Carol that that works with us in investing. She, last year in the pandemic, she actually self-directed her retirement plan, and right after she did that, most of her coworkers lost most. That was when the market crashed. They lost most of their money in their retirement plans. She turned around, invested in a deal. Do you know what her ROI was? What her return?
I don't, but I'd like to.
Now, this is not typical. I got to preface that. This is not typical. Over 700% return.
That's insane.
700 on her money. So she's like, oh, wow, this is awesome. I want to go do this again. Like, yes, let's go do it again. So yeah, it opens a whole new world of opportunities when you understand how to self-direct your retirement plan funds, whether you're lending your own money to others, or maybe having other funds that you're utilizing for different investments. It's cool. Just make sure, another thing, consult with the proper people, right? Accountants, licensed accountants, attorneys. You want to make sure that you're not violating any SEC guidelines, because once you start moving things around with money and investing, you got to make sure that you're not violating any rules. So neither Levi nor I have licenses and any of that stuff. This episode was for informational purposes only. Please make sure I don't want to get sued. Make sure you consult with licensed professionals before you do any of this type of stuff, because it's just, you just got to be.
I call it good business practice.
Thank you.
So it's not just flying by the seat of your pants and hoping it all works out. That might work, but you're putting yourself and others at risk while you're doing that. Yeah. So just realize that when you're doing any of these transactions, it is a business transaction, and treat it accordingly. Like, it's that simple. Yeah. Use professionals, make sure that everybody is taken care of in the deal, and you'll be just fine.
Awesome. CYA. We've talked about that before.
Yes, we have. Go back and listen to it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Levi. This is a fun episode. And
yeah, it was good.
Thanks, guys, for joining us on today's episode. We remind you that championhustle.com is a site where you can go and find out information about where you can subscribe to the show, because we're on all the different podcast directories. We got the audio podcast and then the video podcast. We've also got our Facebook group too. Happy to have you plug in there, and all the links and everything are available at our website at championhustle.com. And next week, Levi, what do we got coming up next week for that episode?
Ooh, next week. So this is fun. We got a special guest coming with us next week. And we are actually going to talk about demystifying business credit. So what the heck does that mean? Guess you're going to have to wait till next week to find out.
Love it. We'll see you guys then. Have a great week.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Champion Hustle podcast. For more great content and to join our online community, visit us at championhustle.com.